It's my sense that most intentional communities exist primarily to create a better life for their members. That's the way they see it. There is a small fraction, which to me is a very important fraction, a very vital one and essential to the existence of the fellowship and the impact that intentional communities may have on the wider culture. There is a significant minority that is activist oriented, by which I mean they have an outreach mission that is not just about the quality of life of its members, but they mean to be an example of a different and what they think is better way of living. And they intend to have influence on the society around them. This can take different forms. At the simplest level, it is simply being a model and then being open to being seen, inviting people to come and visit, not as part of the membership process, although they do that too. However, explicitly just to let people look and experience what it is like to be in this model and whether or not that's inspirational to them. However, in many cases it goes much more. It goes beyond that to either conducting events or visiting other people or sharing with others what they've learned in their community, whether through that's training or through talks. There's a wide variety of ways that's done. There may also be a particular political agenda that a community may have that is not about just simply living a different life. It's about trying to influence society in some specific way around a certain cause. Just take the Catholic worker movement. They're typically addressing homeless issues in the way they do it. They do it through providing services to homeless and relieving, in a private way, a burden on society where something's not working. We've got a lot of people who don't have homes, and there's many reasons why that exists and so on. And they're not necessarily trying to solve the problem. They're trying to ameliorate the suffering, and they take that on in a way that's a profound, fundamental commitment to charity as a base Christian value. They're not trying to preach Christianity, they're trying to live a charitable life and offer that in the world. And that's a political act. So they take on that mission, and there are 100 or more of those in the United States. And they tend to not be proselytizing, they tend to be just doing their work. They're almost all in urban centers, though not entirely. Now, that's just an example. There are communities such as Camp Hill is one. This community we're in right now for this interview, they have a network and they have a commitment to providing services for people with developmental disabilities. There's Innisfree in Crozet, Virginia. They also do this. There's Gould Farm in Western Massachusetts that focuses on people suffering from a variety of mental illnesses. And they try to create a therapeutic environment for people to have a better quality of life while they struggle with their health issues of whatever nature, believing that a community environment gives dignity and purpose in their life and is also itself therapeutic in the potential for recovery and at least quality of life for those people. So that there's a commingling of able-bodied, or co-workers is the term they use here at Kimberton, to live with on a day-to-day basis their client base, and then fees from families and in some cases government agencies that would otherwise be providing for care in other institutions will support the economies of these service organizations. That's a political act, depending on how you look at it. It's also a service act. I see community for myself personally as a base of operations, that I think this is a place where I try to integrate my daily life. That is, I integrate the values that are important in my life into my daily living, and then it becomes a base for me to be in the world to do things. Because my community is an income sharing group, it means that I don't have to face a personal obligation to make money. My group has to face that. Collectively, we have to solve it. So I was able to develop a career, for instance, in process work, where I work with groups taking what we're learning, in many cases through a lot of hard-earned bumbling around, not knowing what we were doing, out into the world and make it available so others won't have to do so much bumbling. And in the early years, that was a lot of volunteer stuff, and my community had to support me doing that work because I was not making money in it, but I believed in it, and they believed in providing an opportunity for me to do work that was meaningful, social change work that mattered. We have a commitment to creating that opportunity for each other. Now, it wasn't unlimited, and I couldn't keep doing it forever. However, I had long enough at it with the support of my community mates that I was able to find a way to actually turn it into a business that makes money. And now, it's the other way around. Now, my work is rewarding enough financially, not just spiritually or psychically, that my activities make it possible for others to pursue their interests, and they have the opportunity now to explore whether that's something they want to stay with or could be a business for them. So we are using a model of supporting each other to do work in the world. We don't all do the same work. Stan's excited about spreading word and information about organic farming in the world. I'm excited about spreading word about what we're learning about group dynamics. It's the same kind of commitment in the community of we believe in doing good in the world, and if a person is inspired to do that, we don't push somebody to do a certain thing. We create the opportunity for them to explore it, find it, and pursue it, and then figure out how to develop a business out of it that's sustainable for the community and the individuals both. So there is this active minority in the movement that is definitely oriented toward trying to make a difference in the world through sharing what we're learning. Not running it down somebody's throat, but trying to make sure everyone's aware that it's out there and how it could be applied to their life. Some people might dismiss intentional communities because, oh, that's so exotic, I'll never consider owning property with other people. However, when you talk about, well, how do you get along well with others, or how do you solve problems cooperatively, almost everybody has a sense of how that would be good to know. So if you can take what's learned in that crucible of intentional community and make it available in those less intense but still applicable situations, then there's interest in that. So, I mean, that's just that particular line. You also have groups that have a political agenda. They want to stand in the world to be anti-materialistic. They want to be a model of how, like at Dancing Rabbit, they've got 40 people and they run 3 cars as a car co-op. That's very radical, because I think the number of registered cars that are on the road today is about equal to the number of people in this country. It's about 1-to-1, and they're living on a 40-to-3 ratio. So that's a very radical act, especially in the country where there's no public transportation to support what they're doing. So that's, there's a number of communities that have an agenda to be a model and want to make it known what they're doing rather than just create a nice lifestyle for their members. I'll say one thing, that I think the cooperative challenge at its core, I don't think this is something that came out in the workshops yesterday or in the event, to me is, how do you disagree about things that matter, things that are non-trivial, and have that be a good experience? How do you solve that moment so that everyone feels like they were better off for being in the conversation? They feel better connected through the engagement, and the solution, that is the choice of what you do as a result, has the solid support of all the participants, rather than winners or losers, or it's a battle. I mean, mostly we approach problems that way, and I'm not even talking about manipulation or underhandedness, which also exists. Even a fair fight is still a fight. And how do we disagree and not have a fight and have an interesting and a curious exploration? That's the fundamental challenge of cooperation. And one of the things that's most exciting to me about intentional communities, in terms of its application to the wider culture, is we are learning something about that thing. And I think the hunger for alternate ways to make political decisions, to make them even on just the family level, never mind the village level or the neighborhood level. It can ratchet all the way up to the international level. But first, if we're going to object to making war on the international level, we have to learn how not to make war at home and with each other. And that means, how do we live on a day-to-day level a cooperative life when we disagree? Nobody needs help when everybody thinks the same way. It doesn't even make any difference how you make decisions. That's not the hard part. It's when we're facing non-trivial differences and doing that moment differently and actually feel more connected afterwards. Once we learn better and better how to do that, then I think we'll have something irresistible to change the world with.